Ladies and gentlemen, we are tuned in to the Rico Report.
I really don't know what to tell you.
That game was insane. Welcome to the Big Squad.
Shout out to the Big Squad.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome to the Big Squad.
welcome on a very special evening to the Rico Report. We are here. He is our team. This is the Buffalo Fanatics. Bing, 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 bing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Rico back at it again, brought to you by the Rico Report. And guess what? It's the brand. It's the Buffalo Fanatics. I have a special guest with me today. Some of you youngins may not be too familiar with this young man, but a lot of the old school Bills fans know exactly who this person is. And without further ado, let me bring in Mr. Special Teams Ace himself, my guy, Steve Tasker. Mr. Tasker, good afternoon. How are you? How is everything today?
I'm doing great, Rico. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen, man, I do appreciate your time. Time is money. And you know what? We're not going to waste any more time. I want to get right into it with you. Okay. This is free agency season. This is the time where most fans are waiting for the big splash. But I don't see the Bills making big splashes. They've made their internal splashes. So my question to you right now is, how do you feel about the three big signings, the re-signings that we've done? And is that enough for us to bring it back to the AFC Championship, let alone the Super Bowl with Matt Milano, Mr. Daryl Williams, and then bringing John Feliciano back?
I don't think so. You got to keep working. You got to get better. You got to try to get better at every position, and they're going to try and do that. Certainly, it starts with filling out your roster. And they got some guys that, and I think it says a lot about where this club is at, where you got guys who've been here for a while. They don't want to leave. Matt Milano, John Feliciano, and even Daryl Williams has only been here for a year. Those guys decided for themselves not to go to free agency. They did not have to take the deal that the Bills offered, and they wanted to stay. And while that's nice and that's great, for a team that has a growth mindset like Sean McDermott always preaches, they're trying to get better. Starting here where these guys are at is a great place to start. You're not going to get worse. You can only get better. They're gonna add guys to compete. We saw it last year with Quentin Spain, who decided he didn't want to go to free agency and signed a 2-year deal with the Bills, and he couldn't see the end of it because the team surpassed him. They outgrew him, and that's where these guys are at now. They want to be a part of what's here, but there's no guarantee that they're going to hang around or be here when the dust settles. They've got a chance to compete, and I think that's a big selling point for this franchise. The atmosphere that these guys live and work in, they love it. They thrive in it. Guys do come here to be the best version of themselves. And for a handful of guys that we've seen over the last couple of years, when they see the best version of themselves, they like it. They don't want to leave. So it's a pretty good spot that the Bills are in. But yeah, they're going to continue to try and get better. They've got some hole. They're going to lose Andre Roberts to free agency.
Yep.
They're probably going to lose Levi Wallace to free agency. Isaiah McKenzie's got a chance to leave in free agency. Now, they signed the three big ones that Ike Butker's a restricted free agent.
Right.
You don't get better when you lose good people. So until the Bills start signing guys either to replace or re-signing guys and trying to get better, they're not the same team that they were 2 months ago when we went the AFC Championship game. So they've got work to do, and they've got to start at the bottom of the mountain before they start to get better and start to build on what they did a year ago.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that. You said the bottom of the mountain. And it feels as though when McDermott and Bean came in, they were at the bottom of the mountain, and they really had to get all their equipment, get all the tools, and really climb that mountain. What exactly is Bean and McDermott how are they able to do what they're doing right now in such a short period, and they've ascended so quickly? What's the secret sauce with those two?
Well, I think a lot of it starts with Terry and Kim Pagula. Their commitment to supporting the guys they hired is enormous. Their commitment to upgrade the facilities, to support Brandon and Sean and whatever they do, to spend the money to re-sign guys, to lay it out there financially for these guys to get better and to retain some players and go out and make this a destination in Buffalo that is not what it once was. It's a place where guys want to play, guys where guys can thrive. So it starts with Kim and Terry. They've done a phenomenal job. They have, I can't tell you how much a difference it makes to have, the top of the organization be as quality as it is with the Pagulas. And Brandon and Sean, to their credit, they had a plan, and man, they have not been distracted for a moment.
Not one bit.
You see guys, general managers come in, and a free agent will come, think about this, back when Khalil Mack was out there, when Antonio Brown was out there, when Le'Veon Bell was out there, whether they liked it here or not, whether we had a chance at him or not, the Bills were kicking the tires on them, but they had a value set for those guys, and they didn't go outside of it. They didn't think that one guy was going to make a big difference for this team. They knew a philosophy would make the difference. And Sean, to his credit, has implemented that philosophy of it, we first philosophy, kind of getting everybody in, making guys be the best version of themselves. And his coaching staff's done a great job of adapting their schemes, their skills, the skill sets of the players, getting them to play at a high level every week. And, you mentioned, going from the, climbing the mountain. This isn't a mountain that they start climbing, 4 years ago when Sean got hired. It's a mountain every year. You're trying to win it every year. And right now, until they get to training camp, they're still headed down from the mountain they were just on going to the AFC Championship game. Yeah. They're headed downhill from there. When they get their draft picks in, when they start to get into OTAs, when they've got the 85 guys they go to training camp with, then they'll start back up and they'll start on the upswing. But right now, teams are kind of tearing it apart and realizing what they have to work with. Who are they going to for sure have in the building? Who do they need to have in the building? Who's the best option for their squad? Get all those guys in the building, get them to OTAs, get them to training camp, and then let's see what we got and see if we can put together a team that can win a championship.
See, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I look at this roster and I look at the obstacles that both coach and GM have had to kind of endure, especially this year with this COVID year, and now this salary cap situation. So when you look at this roster and you look around the defense, you look around on the offensive side of the ball, where do you see a weakness where you feel this is the next group or this is the next position that they should focus on, whether it be the draft or via, free agency? What are your thoughts on that?
I think for me, your focus never shifts. It's still a big man's game.
Okay.
And it's played up front on defense and offense. If you've got a dominant offensive line, hey, half the guys on your offense are playing at a high level. All you got to do is sprinkle in some skill around them. Your quarterback's better. Your run game's good with a dominant offensive line. It's good automatically. And then your wide receivers are better because, teams have got to play man coverage to throw guys in the box. So your offensive line sets the tone for everything. And your same thing on defense. If your defensive line can penetrate or hold the line of scrimmage and play in the other team's backfield, you've seen a lot of Super Bowls won because a team can rush four guys and get to the quarterback quick. It starts up front on both sides of the ball. That never changes. And certainly skill position players and running backs and wide receivers, particularly in this day and age, tight ends, they're the things that are fun to watch. But those guys never get a chance to do their thing without the guys up front winning. So I don't think that changes ever in football.
So this has been a debate, a topic, a hot topic. And I've shared my own opinion on this. And it goes to talk about the line, the O-line, the run game, and the scheme. And I'm sure this is something that maybe you've talked to your inner circles about, but this is what Bills fans are talking about. So in my opinion, and this is my opinion, I felt that if we brought everybody back on the O-line, something has to change in the backfield. But it seems as though they might be keeping what they have in the backfield. So was the problem the scheme, O-line, or the run game? And that's something that I'm very curious on your opinion on what your thoughts on that.
I think it was the O-line, and I like those guys, but the problem with the O-line was they never lined up with the same 5 guys until the last couple of weeks of the season. You remember the last month of the season, this team was hanging 46 points on the Broncos, 56 points on the Dolphins, 39 points on the Patriots. When that offensive line finally got together, they were drubbing people. And it took them until week 11, week 12 to get their offensive line on the field. And that was without their best left guard, Cody Ford. He was left to injury. The first 9 or 10 weeks of the season, John Feliciano was out for the first 7 or 8 games. He comes back finally. So they've got John Feliciano at left guard, Cody Ford at right guard with Daryl Williams, Deion Dawkins, and Mitch Morse. Up until that time, they had Brian Winters, Ike Butker, and Cody Ford rotating in at different starting spots. They could not find – and Quentin Spain, remember, what started the season. They couldn't get their offensive line set with the 5 guys they wanted. Feliciano wasn't in there. He adds something to them. So when Feliciano gets in there, they start the game, and I can't remember exactly which game it was. They last 3 plays. Mitch Morse gets a concussion. Feliciano, after 3 snaps, moves down to center. Mitch Morse is out. Now you got Cody Ford, Brian Winters. So they shuffle it again. It was 3 quarters of the season before the offensive line of the Buffalo Bills got set, and that wasn't the 5 guys they thought they wanted because Cody Ford had gotten hurt in the meantime. So you get those 5 guys on the – I'd like to see what those 5 guys can do anyway, right? Because, you know, I get it. They didn't run the ball well enough.
No.
But they were scoring 29.5 points a game anyway. So, let's not throw it out.
I know.
Right? I mean, let's not, so, tell them they suck and throw them to the curb, and maybe we can get up and maybe we can run the ball and score 24 points a game. Who needs it? Right. So they scored 29.5 points a game and didn't run the ball as well as they'd like to. But for me, I think if you're in that mindset, you're looking for warts on Miss America. Yeah. Because that offense was humming. So you may find one now and again, but that ain't even a wart. That's a freckle. That's not a wart. Okay. Those guys were good. This is an offense that was humming and hitting on all cylinders. Absolutely. And they're going to throw the ball with Josh playing the way he is and the things they got. They're going to throw the ball first all the time anyway. So if they can run the ball better, awesome. But that ain't going to make them score 36 points a game.
Okay. So and keeping where we're at right now, because you mentioned Cody Ford. I'm indifferent on Cody Ford. Not that I'm giving up on Cody Ford, but I feel that the microscope is going to be a lot on Cody Ford. Now, is he playing out of sort? Who knows? He's never found a home. He went from right tackle to right guard, now all the way to left guard. Has he found a home at left guard, and do you trust him at left guard? What are your thoughts on Cody Ford and how the team should handle him with free agency coming up as well as the draft coming up? What are your thoughts on that?
He got hurt, through the season, and I didn't know this until today. John Feliciano told us Cody Ford was playing hurt for a long time this season. All right, so I'd be willing to scooch him some slack for that. Okay, he needs to play guard. I think he's a guard. He's not a tackle. They drafted him guard tackle. Some people thought he could play right tackle. He's a guard to me. Okay, and he's a big physical body down inside, and I think he's going to be good if he can get down there, play healthy, and play 100%. I think and I'm with you. I think if you're looking for a guy that you're not quite sure about yet on the offensive line, he's probably the first guy. And then you kind of think, well, I hope Mitch Morse can stay healthy because he struggled with concussions. Every year he kind of gets dinged and you don't know when it's going to be the last one. And he's going to say, hey, I can't play anymore. Right. That's a real issue for a guy, coming back, and you think maybe he's a little too fragile to play down inside. But he's still in there and he's playing extremely well when he's healthy. So the 2 tackles and Morse are pretty good. And of course, Feliciano gives them the grit and the edge and the feistiness they like. And Cody Ford is a guy that I'm with you. I think if you're looking for a guy that you want to see something from, I think he's it. But like I said, I find out he was playing hurt the entire year, and that's
changes the
hard to
game.
do. That's hard to do. So let's see if we can do healthy. But I'm telling you too, after saying all this about these 5 guys, and I want to see them play together and all that.
Yep.
Bring in as good offensive linemen as you can and give them a chance to compete to start. If you can upgrade, do it.
I'm with
that's
you.
what you're there for.
I'm with you. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're gonna stay on the opposite side of the ball. I'm going to bring up John Brown. And the reason I bring up John Brown is John Brown, we all know that recently got released, to the disappointment of many Bills fans and to the expecting move from a lot of Bills fans. Now, John Brown had a few things to say when he was on satellite radio. A lot of people have interpreted it differently. Some interpreted that, how dare the Bills not speak to him and let him know what they're going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And some fans, myself included, are like, wait a minute, you saw the writing on the wall. Gabe Davis emerging, 5-0 without you, a little older on the other side of 30. So his comments, how did you interpret his comments on the satellite radio?
Yeah, I think they're probably incomplete. I don't think the Bills were going to sit there and give him a heads up, because as soon as they give, as soon as they give John Brown a heads up, his agent puts it out there. They don't want to make it public what they're thinking about. And I know this, some people smarter than me in the NFL had thought that a lot of players in John Brown's situation, that is a guy on the wrong side of 30, that guy making a good dollar for what he's doing.
Right.
And in this economy, the representation, the agents would have been crazy not to call the team and say, hey, listen, I know what it looks like. I can see what's coming down the road. We're a likely candidate to have something done with our contract. Our guy's willing to renegotiate. Our guy's willing to do something.
Right.
I'm surprised that he didn't open a conversation on his side saying, what about it?
Yes.
There's no reason for either side in this organization, in either side of this conversation, to have any ill feelings toward the other, because they're big boys, all of them. They're all adults. They know the writing on the wall, and the club they could be the club. Because it's obvious they were talking to Mario Addison. It's obvious they were talking to, they cut Quentin Jefferson.
Right.
Vernon Butler redid his deal. Starlo Tulele has renegotiated his contract just a year ago before he opted out. They had renegotiated his deal. So it's not like that's new.
Yeah.
So, while John Brown could have said, well, I wish I would have gotten one phone. Okay, but no, I don't think either side of this equation has anything to be upset about the way it happened, particularly when you look around the league and see how it's going around the league. It's the atmosphere in which we live. And also, too, we all know this. It's hard to imagine the Bills team, or it feels like it's better today without him than it was with him. The guy was a good player.
He was.
And certainly $9 million is a big number, but he was a really good player for the organization. I know they appreciated him and wish things would have been different.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna agree with you in that regards. In looking at John Brown, I feel like he was and I've used this before in my previous show, he was the kindling to Josh Allen, which is our fire now. He got Josh Allen started. We gave him weapons, and now Josh Allen is like a blue flame. You can't turn that thing out. And now you've given him younger players. I think that he'll emerge. I think that he'll continue to have success. So now we're gonna switch the game up a little bit, Mr. Tasker.
Okay.
We're gonna play a game called 2 Words, sir. I'm gonna throw you a couple lobs, easy things, and then it'll progressively get a little tougher. Are you ready, sir?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Steve Tasker. We are going to play a very popular game by the name of 2 Words. Now, Mr. Tasker, are you ready?
Yep.
Your rookie season.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah,
Houston
your rookie
Oilers.
season.
Houston Oilers.
Houston Oilers. Okay. Bruce Smith.
Best ever.
Jim Kelly.
Yeah. Jim Kelly, toughest ever.
Buffalo Wings.
Bar Bill.
Blue Ranch. Blue Ranch. Blue Ranch. You got me saying Blue Ranch. Blue cheese.
Oh, that's the only topping.
Okay, that's the only topic. I like that. You're doing well, sir. You're doing well. We're gonna keep going. Here we go.
Right.
We're gonna go into the new era. Buffalo Bills football right now. The atmosphere.
College-like.
Ooh, okay. Andre Roberts.
Pro Bowler. Yeah, he's an elite. Oh, how about this? Elite decision maker.
Elite decision maker. Elaborate on that.
Well, that's what a return guy. A lot of people think you need a guy that can just run with the ball and get the ball in his hands and go do it. But so much about returning, and I did it. So much about returning kicks and being really good at it is the decisions you make. When to return a punt, when to fair catch it, when you know you've got room, what you need to do on that play. And of course, some people forget job one on any special teams play is that when that play is over, your team should have the ball. So if you're returning kicks, if you're returning kickoffs, returning punts, whatever it is, you need to end that play with the ball in your possession. If it doesn't, it's catastrophic. And as a coverage guy and as a kick coverage guy, I'm the same way. I'm trying to get it back. It's the only play in football where you deliberately give the ball to your opponent on a punt or a kickoff. So possession of the ball is key. And that's job one. And it sounds easy, sounds simple. Man, you can't let it slide. So if your return guy is sure-handed, makes great decisions, and if as a punt returner, if you can get 10 yards per punt return, that's what you're after. It's a first down for the offense.
Okay.
Get one first down back, and anything after that, it's gravy. Certainly, if you can snap one off as a big one, that's great, but that's a big play. Usually that happens as a mistake by the other team.
Right.
But it does happen as a great play on your part as well. But if you can get them a first down, that's what you're asking for. And on kick, everything's changed. It's a little different nowadays because of player safety and the different ways you kick off, the different kickoff alignment and stuff. But Andre Roberts is an elite decision maker. He never gives you a bad spot. He had one bad play for the entire 2020 season. One. And, it was in a win.
Right.
So this will be his 7th team as he goes to the Houston Texans to return kicks for them. 7 teams the guy's been on, and he was here for 2 years. I remember one bad play, and man, oh man, that's a pretty good record.
All right. You know what? Keeping that same energy right now. Daryl Johnson.
Bam is a great special teams player.
Mm-hmm.
I love him, man. It's hard to be a big dude and play special teams, particularly on coverage teams. It's okay if you're, field goal team up front blocking or the field goal rush team. All you got to do is jump up or whatever. But for him to get out and run in space on kickoffs and punt team is huge. It's a real asset to him. He's going to hang around the league for a long time because of his ability to run, and that's big. So I've had my eye on Bam for a long time, and I'm really happy with the way they found him and the way he emerged into that role.
The Buffalo Jills.
Long gone.
I had to bring that one up. Long
gone, man. They do not exist.
Okay. The Bills uniforms.
Yeah, I think they're lit. I love those guys. I love all of them. The white on white with the white face mask.
They're lit. I like it. Keep going.
The white on white with the white face masks. Man, they jump. They really jump. And even when they come out in those all red color rush uniforms, the blue on blue with the white helmets, they got some combinations that are just
primo
awesome. I do them, I see them live, when in the state, even this last year when we're home, I watched them come out of the home. Those uniforms just pop, and it's nice. It's really nice.
I think they're one of the best in the league.
They're really sweet. Really sweet.
Answer me this. And forgive me, what is with the white face masks that so many Bills love and adore? I don't understand it.
I don't know. It makes them look clean, it makes them look sleek. I don't – the gray face mask don't get it for me. It's 1950s for me.
Okay.
I like the white face mask. I think I played one season with a blue face mask on their old red helmet in '86. I think they had that. And then it turned into a white face mask after that, which is what I played with. But we had red helmets.
Yes.
So, the white helmet, if you got a white helmet, wear a white face mask and I like that because then the accents jump, and I like that. It looks good.
So that is going to be it. I love that we ended on the segment of the jerseys and the uniform. That was a segment of 2 words. Mr. Tasker, you played that extremely well. It's like you're savvy vet. You're a savvy vet. So we're gonna turn the table a little bit, and I want to ask you on the differences. And I want you played on these great Bills teams, and you see the product that is being put on the field right now. Do you see similarities between the team of old and team now, or are they completely different?
There's some similarities. They've got some truly great players on them. Both teams do. I mean, I was walking out, our offense had at least four Hall of Famers with Jim, Thurman, Andre, and James Lofton. We had a couple of offensive linemen that should probably be considered, Kent Hull certainly being one of them.
Right.
Hall of Fame type caliber players. So, it's hard to suck when you have guys like that on your squad. And then on the other side of the ball, we had maybe the best defensive pass rusher in the history of the game in Bruce, and Cornelius Bennett, who was a phenomenal athlete, and a guy like Daryl Talley, who was strong enough to have a voice that those guys listened to.
Yeah,
he's so respected. We had just a tremendous group of leaders on both sides of the ball. And I think that's one of the things that has made this team good, this age with Josh and Tremaine Edmonds and Tre'Davious White, guys like Feliciano.
Yes.
And even when he was here, Pat DeMarco, Lee Smith is one of those guys. One of those old veteran guys in each position room is kind of what Sean McDermott likes. But it comes down to, and one of the things that I would think is really important to success, and it was certainly for those 90s teams.
Yes.
The best players work the hardest and set a really high standard for themselves.
Okay.
When the best players do that, everybody has to jump. You have to work hard. Everybody else is expendable. And Josh Allen ain't going anywhere. So, if there's a guy who ain't going to work as hard as Josh, why are they keeping that guy, right? I mean, that's the kind of the atmosphere it creates. When Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, Tre'Davious White, Micah, Jordan Poyer, when those guys are the hardest working guys out there, it sets a standard of hard work. And also, and you can see this in Josh all the time, he is so all about everybody else being happy and working hard and getting attention and having success. And when your quarterback is so into everybody else having such a great success, he's for them. He's for his teammates. He wants them to succeed. He wants them to score touchdowns. He wants them to be successful personally, professionally. He wants them to get credit and glory and have all the fun and the fame and the commercial. He wants it for them. When your best guys are like that, your team elevates.
No choice.
The whole squad, from role players playing special teams all the way through to the guys like Steph Diggs and Cole Beasley and John Brown, all those guys, they elevate. Because when the guy who is that good and that important is for you and is helping you and is working really hard,
right,
man, the floor just raises and the ceiling comes off.
Amazing.
And that's what Josh is like, and that's the way it was for those 90s teams. So those are the similarities I see. Your best players work the hardest and are your biggest cheerleaders.
Yep. I like it. I love that. So and I'm gonna say this because you're talking about the 90s team and you're talking about the team that we have now. We have a guy like Josh Allen. Is there a player on this team that nobody's really paying attention to that you have maybe seen, wait a minute now, I think we might have a budding star in this player? Anybody that stands out to you?
I think I think also there could be more than one. I think a guy that I'm looking forward to this year is a guy that didn't play his position for very long in college. He's got great athleticism, has the potential, and he's becoming into his third year and is kind of his fourth or fifth year of actually playing the position. So it's like a place where, like Josh Allen was this last year, where he's like, wow, I get this now. And I think it's Dawson Knox. He's an athletic kid who he came out his rookie year and he had all those drops and he was like, oh my gosh, this year, I think he would have taken a much bigger step this year had it not been for COVID when he was out for a week or 2 weeks. He missed a couple of games because he was on the list. He got injured, wasn't 100% for a while and had to kind of get back into it. He had a stretch there for a while where he caught a couple of touchdowns. He caught a touchdown a week for like 3 weeks. He's a really good red zone target. So I think this is a year where if Dawson Knox comes in and plays all the time and consistently, particularly with the departure of John Brown, there's going to be more room for him for some opportunities. And we'll be able to, and they'll add him to an offense that was spreading it around to Steph Diggs, Cole Beasley, John Brown, Gabe Davis, where you take John Brown out, throw a tight end in, and all of a sudden he gets those opportunities. So I think this could be a year for Dawson Knox to like spread his wings and like, hey, we got one of those guys, right? Like got a Zach Ertz or a Kittle or a Kelsey or one of those guys, tight ends that I wish, everybody thinks they have to steal rather than to draft, right? So I think that might be the guy I pick.
Well, listen, you walked into the segment that I was just about to put you into, and you already defended the first player that I was going to
put on right?
the table. Absolutely. So you defended him quite well. So you've got 2 more players for me to defend. By the way, we walked into the segment of defend this player, and you've just defended Dawson Knox because I'll tell you, I'm indifferent on Dawson Knox. I see so much potential, but he hasn't put together. But like you said, going into another year, same system, same quarterback, he's just got to put it together. I fear that some guys just don't. They have all the talent in the world, but they just don't put it together. I'm hoping, just like you are, that he does put it together, because if he does, what a specimen he would be. But I don't trust him just yet. But it's granted, like you said, he didn't spend much time playing that position. He's only starting to play this position some more. So I'll take your word for it. So we're going to move on to the next player. I need you to defend this player.
All right.
Levi Wallace.
All right. Levi Wallace, undrafted rookie free agent. He wasn't supposed to play. And he came in and impressed him during training camp and through maybe some injuries early on or some surprise moves or just his play, he got on the field. And everybody's like, wow, isn't that a great story? So he plays this year. Nobody's out there to take his spot. And it was a struggle too. I mean, they were 6-10, I think, his rookie year. I think he was out there trying to get it done. But there were some other rookie free agents on the field as well for the Bills. It was a struggle year for the whole team. So then the second year comes around and they're going to replace him with somebody who can really play. They're going to bring in a former first rounder and Kevin Johnson, and they're going to bring back, some other guys who can play, and they're going to replace him. And hey, they can't get it done. Levi Wallace is still out there.
Okay.
And Levi Wallace, you brought in Kevin Johnson, former first round pick. He's long, 6'1". Got all the physical tools. Levi Wallace will, move to the background. He'll be a backup, maybe play some special teams. And lo and behold, when they line up, Levi Wallace is still there. So you get to year 3, and they bring in Josh Norman, who's a former highest-paid cornerback in the National Football League.
Right.
He's going to take his place. They're going to replace him with Levi Wallace, and they draft a Jackson. Dane Jackson. They draft Dane Jackson. They're going to find somebody better than Levi Wallace. So they're going to replace him, and they can't get it done. So you can say what you want about Levi Wallace, but until you got a better guy, you shut up.
Let's go, Steve Tasker. Yo, he's not playing games today. I like it. I love the energy. We're going to keep it going. Defend this player.
Okay.
Bitcoin Barkley.
You can say what you want about the guy's football prowess, although he beat the Miami Dolphins in the second half of that game, just like Josh Allen beat him in the first half of the game. You need a guy who knows the offense, and he came out against the number 1 scoring defense in the league, and when he was done, they were the number 6 scoring defense in the league. So he lit him up. Number 2, I don't care if Matt Barkley can play, because if Matt Barkley goes in the game, we're not expecting to win anyway, because Josh Allen is the engine that drives the ship.
Agreed.
What the backup quarterback's job on the Buffalo Bills is to make sure number 17 is ready to take snaps and be his best. Matt does a great job of that. They've got a great rapport. You need, and you know me, I'm an old guy, and Jim Kelly had Frank Reich. You need a guy of a special ilk to be able to have a starting quarterback come off the field after a bad series, after a bad interception, after a sack fumble, after giving up a pick six, whatever it is, where it's the third 3 and out in a row. You need a guy on the sidelines where the starting quarterback comes off and he doesn't want to talk to anybody. That guy can still talk to him. Somebody's got to be able to talk to your starting quarterback all the time. And sometimes the backup quarterback's the only guy he'll talk to. If you got a guy like that, which the Bills do in Matt Barkley, you got to hang on to him, give him a chance. He proved also in that last Week 17 game, in a game the Miami Dolphins had to have, he lit him up.
He did.
With the same offense that Josh Allen runs, Brian Daboll pulling the strings, calling the plays, hit him with deep balls, ran the offense extremely well and efficiently. I don't know how good a backup you want, but for the money that Matt Barkley made last year, look at this. The Oakland Raiders paid their backup $10 million in Marcus Mariota. I'll take Matt Barkley for $2 million. And he's a better option. He's a guy that, and he is, and the word had, and I don't know this, I've only heard this. He and his wife have been real instrumental in reaching out to the players, all the players' wives on the team, not just Josh's girlfriend, but all the significant others of the players, to make sure they were heard and understood and got together and felt a part of things as well. So Matt and his family, you get all of these guys when you get them. And Matt and his family, his wife, have both been instrumental in the cohesion off the field for these guys as well as on it.
Steve, you're selling me on Barkley, because I was ready to say, see you later, Barkley. We've got Fromm, we've got Davis Webb. These two can go at it and find out who the number 2 guys is. But you sold me on Bitcoin. I have one more that I need you to defend this player. Okay. I need you to help me out. Nate Peterman.
Nate Peterman?
Yes.
I cannot defend Nate Peterman.
You can't defend him?
No.
Can't do it.
He's a great dude. Hey, listen. I'm not going to – let me just tell you about Nate. Nate Peterson is one of the all-time great teammates, great human being, tremendous person, and that's more important than him being a good quarterback.
Got it.
Not a great pro quarterback. He has a role to play for some team, I'm sure, but he is a tremendous guy. And I know it's easy to make fun of these players when they stink, because Nate stunk here in Buffalo. But he was never supposed to play either.
I know.
And we know why now, unfortunately, for Nate. It wasn't like Levi Wallace where he had to play and then he was good. Nate was in a bad situation on a team that wasn't built for him.
Yep.
That was never committed to him. And that doesn't make him a bad person or a bad guy. And it's easy for casual fans to make fun of a guy like Nate, but he's a tremendous guy. He's an asset to whatever team he's on, but he can't.
I get it. And here's the thing, Steve. I'm actually a fan of Nate Peterman. I'm actually a fan of him. And when he was on the squad, I was rooting for him because he's such a nice person. And I wanted all the success for him. And when he got that starting position, I was like, here we go. And no, we don't have it. And I got roasted for being a Nate Peterman fan. But anyways, I had to ask that because there are a lot of Bills fans that like to roast me because I'm a fan of Nate Peterman. So you've been gracious with your time. I have one more segment to hit you with. And it's a segment that a lot of our fans love. And it's called Say It With Your Chest. 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 Say it. Now, the Say It With Your Chest segment is I give you a topic to speak on and you say it with your chest and you say it proudly. And I want to talk about the special team player. And I want to talk about why most people may not give them the accolades that they deserve, the things that they do on the field, the field switching that they do, whether it be a punter, a clutch kicker, or a clutch return man. You spoke on Andre Roberts, but what's the art of being a special teams player? And is there room for these guys to really get more prominence, more love on the field?
As crazy as it might sound, you got to want it. You have to want to take part. Most guys will come out and young players will say, hey, I want I'll do anything to play in the National Football League. And they go to college and they're a star at their college. They're running back, wide receiver, linebacker, offensive lineman, you name it. And they say, I'll do anything to get in the NFL. I want to play in the NFL. The simple fact of the matter is when they get to the NFL and somebody says, we want you to cover kicks, they don't want to do that. They'll do anything, but they won't cover kicks. That's basically what it boils down to. You get guys who just don't want to do it because they don't know if they're good enough at it, or they haven't had any experience doing it, or they think only backups do that. And the simple fact of the matter is in the NFL level, you're a professional special teams player. Everybody on the 53-man roster and the 48 on game day has to contribute somehow, some way. You got to find a way to be a football player and step on the field. And if that means chasing kicks, you got to do it. You got to want to do it. And if you're going to go out there for the team and all these guys that you love and respect and you've practiced with and you've hurt with and sweated with, you got to go out there. If you're going to go out there and cover kicks, you got to do it hard and do it as well as you can possibly do it. And that means diving into it and finding out what it takes. You got, what's the technique I use? Who do I take? Yeah. The angle I take? What are we trying to get done? What are my teammates doing on this play? How do I effectively use them? It's a different special teams world, no question about it, because kickoffs have been really de-emphasized because of player safety. With a standing start kick, with the ball being into the end zone a lot of the time, you don't really get a chance to cover a lot of kicks live. It's basically a chance to loosen up. However, the punt team still is just about exactly as it's always been. You kick it and you chase it, and there's going to be trouble at the end of it if your guy kicks it. So, and I think the philosophy now as well with the punters in the league, it used to be when I kicked, we had a philosophy there. We wanted the ball to go about 40 to 45 yards and hang as long as it could hang.
Okay.
We wanted to force a lot of fair catches, get me or somebody else down, because you can't score a touchdown against us when you fair catch it.
I like it.
If you're going to give Deion Sanders a chance with the ball in his hands, hey, God bless you. He may score a touchdown on you. We didn't want to have that happen to us. Now the philosophy is this, with the punters being so good, and there are a ton of punters in the league that would have been all pro every single year of their career, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago. There's a ton of really strong-legged punters in the league. Now they're willing to give up that shot because these guys will launch it. They've got big legs.
Yes.
Hit a 55-yarder, a 60-yarder. They will lay it out there a long way and high. And if you hit a 55-yarder and a 10-yard return, 45-yard net is off the charts. It's hard now. Now you got guys doing it. But when I played, the Holy Grail was a 40-yard net for the season. Nobody could do it. Nobody could do it. Now you get guys doing it. And one of the reasons is because they got strong legs and you got good coverage guys, and they lay it out there a long way. And, the inside the 20s, the Aussie kick is now new. I was around when the Aussie kick first started to come in. Darren Bennett, the great punter for the San Diego Chargers, came over from Australian Rules football. I got a chance to play with him in the Pro Bowl. That's the first time we ever kicked an Aussie kick in a game, was in the Pro Bowl in 1980, maybe 90-something. Darren Bennett did it. And it now every punter's got to be able to do it. The game has evolved. But when you boil it down, it is the same thing. You've got to want to do it. You've got to want the contact. You've got to embrace the type of play that it's going to be. You've got to set your own parameters for success, and you got to try and reach them. And as crazy as it sounds, a lot of very young players who come out of college aren't ready to do that.
Okay.
For one reason. They feel like it's beneath them. They've never had to do it.
Wow.
They've never had to cover. You figure it, running backs in college, they don't, they got walk-ons that can cover kicks.
Right.
They got, in high school, they make the freshmen cover kicks, not the seniors, right?
True.
You don't do that ever. And you get a guy that's set apart at a young age as a quarterback or a wide receiver or a linebacker or one of those really star players. They get set aside early. They're never asked to do that. And they get to the pros, they're out of their element. Unbelievably.
Right.
You can come out of a school like Alabama or LSU or Clemson, Florida, one of these, USC, and you may have never covered a kick, never been asked to do it.
That's right.
And and some guys, it's a tough ask. They got to be ready to try it. And special teams coach in the NFL, I think they're still like this. They're still susceptible to a guy coming up and saying, "Hey, coach, I want to try it."
Yep.
They'll give you a shot. They're looking for guys who want to play. And that's like junior high. That's like grade school stuff. Would you like to come out and try it? It's like that in the NFL sometimes.
You got to want it.
Special teams coordinators will tell you, the guy came up to me day one, said he came to meetings. He says, "I want to be on special teams. I want to make it." And for a lot of guys, myself included, it's a ticket to a pretty prosperous NFL career. And
if you know it, you got to take advantage of it. That's the best way I can explain it. Everything you said is you got to want it. What did you run your 40 in? What was your 40 time?
Fastest, well, I don't know. When I was young, when I was in college, freshman in college, I'd ran a sub 4.4.
Okay.
But I was only 150 pounds, 160 pounds back then, right? So then as I gained weight and I got up to, went to Northwestern and I went from 147 as a freshman in college to as a fifth year senior, I was 185 pounds and the same height. And it was because of lifting and training. And I was faster as a 185 pounder than I was
amazing
as a 147 pounder. And I was obviously, and I had people who 5 years after I left high school, they didn't recognize me because I was so much heavier and the same height, You
got swole.
Yeah. I started lifting and that was it, man. You start training and getting ready for it. And I was a big time lifter, and it made me strong enough to play pro football.
Well, listen, man, you have been an integral part in people playing special teams. When you say the word special teams, you say Steve Tasker. I don't have to say what understood doesn't need to be said. We're both on the same page. We know what the deal is. It's just a matter of time. Now, I will say this. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad that you gave us the time to sit and chop it up. You are a well of knowledge. And I could sit here with another hour and speak to you, but you are an important man. I love what you're doing on TV. I love what you're doing on radio. We look forward to everything you say. So we much appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Tasker. Thanks, guy.
Rico. Appreciate you, man.
Got it.
Take care.
This is the Rico Report. This is the Buffalo Fanatics. Take care now. We'll talk soon.